So we're nearly at the end, penultimate week. I've got a couple of things we need to do and go through because it's really important that you understand the principle that we've gone through with this data set. And this is about understanding that the reality for many people and for all organizations that we've really worked with is Excel is there, data is coming from Excel. But what do we do when that is the case in the reality? And lots of places will tell you, bring it into a data, do that. You don't need to. Okay, a lot of things as well, you find is that there's an emergent change that will go on across your organization as you bring your data projects further forward. We can show that all with this. So that's what we're doing with Jesmond Dean dataset, isn't it? Or with what was the Jesmond Dean dataset and is now the Northeast Parkruns dataset. We can go in, let's have a look, have some checks as to what's gone on, look at our final build that we're going through and get that ready. Yeah? Excellent. So I wanted to start with this, okay? It's just a slide that we've put together for a talk I'm doing later in the month. And it's one of those things you have to understand. Somebody will be taking a daily file, an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file that gets emailed to them or they download from the system. They will be building something and they will be sending that out to management. That takes time, that takes effort, that effectively costs your business money. So if you're not getting value for that, what's the steps? Now, what we can do very quickly is we can automate it. Okay? And the whole point of this was to quickly and easily automate it really simply. And this is now expanded and extended to where we're actually seeing very different value propositions from the content. Okay? So let's have a look at what I mean in Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service. So here we are, the Power BI service in what was our Jesmond Dean Parkruns dataset workspace. And we've kind of expanded a lot on it, haven't we? And we've looked and we've changed and we've tweaked things from there. And it's kind of, okay, it's very much not just a Jesmond Dean Parkruns dataset anymore, is it? So what I was looking at saying, well, we've got this Northeast Parkruns data. And the reasoning behind that is a few videos back, we looked at, well, how could we be more efficient in bringing this through? And it worked really well. It works in Power BI Desktop. You can refresh the data set. In the service, it's just been a catalog of errors, and I've never been able to get it to refresh in the service. It comes back with these errors. You get rename column steps. It's one of the last steps in it. It's an issue, seems to be far more related to earlier on in the process than that point. So, as I say, I've gone through, I've fixed it, I've done all the steps it talks about, and each time it comes back and it doesn't work. Open it in Power BI Desktop, hit refresh, it works fine. So as I always thought, there's going to be an issue with the way that we're dynamically calling the data flows. Okay? Which, as I say, day one I thought this is too easy. This isn't right. These are kind of gotchas that you get with Power BI though. So it's important, I think, you see it, I want you to be aware of it. We've got that issue that it just does not seem to refresh. As I say, I can open it in Power BI Desktop, hit refresh, and it's fine. Okay? So I thought, right, what can we do with it? So what I've done is in here, I've moved on it, is I'm preparing, so what I'm doing is I'm preparing a new environment for it, okay? Because we've got Parkrun data and Parkrun model now. And then we'll do a new workspace in a minute where we're going to add in our visualizations, okay? So that's kind of the way we're going to do it. So what we've got here in the Parkrun data is I've got 3 data flows. One that pulls through all the participation information, one that pulls through all the volunteers and the event history files, and one that pulls through and builds the people history tables that are needed. So if we actually have a look in here, it'll make more sense if you have a look in here. So we've got people, so we've got very few little information about people. There's one thing in here which I've got, which I don't like, it's not the right place for it, but we've got gender in people. Okay, the reasoning behind it, there's all sorts of stuff going on with it. But that's what I've done. We've got the people volunteers, so where the times they volunteered and where, which is going to become effectively our fact table for that. And then we've got, not a fact table, sorry, it's the the record that for each volunteer at each event. So if I volunteer in multiple locations, I'll have a summary record here, just like we've got for your runs there. So we've got like your the location ID, your ID, and your name. We're going to strip the names back as I say at a later point, but they're there because they're then used to bring the names in here, okay, participation. But anyway, it's going through and doing various things. Then we've got like the number of times you've done it. So how many events have you run it? We've got the cheetah time, so the quickest time, your tortoise time, your slowest time, your cheetah position. So what was your quickest, your lowest position in the field, as it were, and your tortoise position. And then we've got your cheetah age grade and your tortoise age grade. So if and they can all be different because obviously potentially you could be slower one day, but because there are less people, you might have a higher finish position or a lower finish position or the likes. Okay, so there's lots of things around that, but those are kind of the things people want to see. So it's nice to have all that pre-stage ready to use rather than having to calculate it dynamically. And as I say, the impact it has on the data model is minimal. So it feels like that's sensible to do. If you went through and you said, well, we've got 100,000 or we've got loads and loads of events and lots of people, it's quicker to have that built ready to go than I now want to hover over and see what this person's record is. Just makes it life difficult. Likewise for the volunteers. So how many times have they volunteered at each event is all we've really got for them at the moment. It would be nice if we can get more information out from Parkrun. And Parkrun have said that at some point they are looking at how can they put roles in. And then, as I say, we've got your overall record for there. Okay. So everything's fine. Those three work. So there's a piece of work I need to do, which is to bring in the model. Okay. So if we go back here, we can see we've got Parkrun models, which is at the moment is an empty workspace. So if you remember, this is one of those things where we talked about, we bring all the data together. We've got in our environment, we've got a data core. Okay. So I've got a core, data flow workspaces, where I've got things like the calendar, postcodes, or the geography information. So in theory, we can use this information. This would be something we recommend to clients to do, is to build some standard core workspaces that everyone's going to have access to in your organization. And you put things like the calendar in there. Here we've got postcodes England. So we've got a lookup table for postcodes in England where people can go through and have a look. So what we're getting to is this mindset, and I've mentioned it before, where you've got kind of a bit of a bow tie style thing, where you've got multiple workspaces serving up the information that's going to need to go in to build the model. And that could be workspaces, that could be, we're saying workspaces, but a workspace could be holding like one leg, it could be hosting anything. That's just a location. And then because in our recommendation, you have that engineering takes place in one location, you're then building up and having the model come together in one location. And then we're saying, right, from the model, we now need to visualize. And this is where there's definitely a stark difference between my recommendations and the way Microsoft seems to be going. I understand where Microsoft is going with it, believe it or not, I do. Things like the audiences within apps, that's kind of just not really worked. And I think the challenge was always that a workspace could only ever host one app. That was the issue. So you'd have one app per workspace. And then because of the way businesses work in the real world, you'd go, well, I'm going to build my project. Here's my app. It's one thing. And then we'd leave it and we go and create a new thing and here's another app. And then go and create a new thing and here's another app. So then what I'm having to do as my consumers are coming through is I go through, we talk about, go to app.powerbi.com/home. And then here in your recommended, or you can have your favorites. I could have favorited various apps and things like that. That's how I would access all the apps that I needed. The key thing being all, and over time that could become 10, 15, 20, and I need to remember which ones to use. Whereas what we're saying is, well, because your apps are separate to your models, you can bring multiple models data into a single app and structure your app around job role. Okay, and then you can leverage, if you need to, you can use things like the audiences feature to deal with different hierarchies within that role structure, which don't make sense to do separately. So that all I'm having to do is, I am a insert name here, you know, I'm a manager, I'm a supervisor, is I go to Power BI, we can deploy the one app to you. There it is. You can, of course, link that into Teams, which is, of course, the other thing, which, again, is probably part of why this is all being very difficult. And then because you've got everything for your role in one app and it's linked to your team, it becomes much more. That team then becomes the whole, this is everything I'm doing, this is my focus. It makes sense to do it that way. Okay, so that's where we differentiate. But yeah, in terms of creating a new workspace, this is one of those areas we see lots of people asking us, how do we create a new workspace? New workspaces are built. If you come through here, you've got new workspaces, you can add them. You might not have this. Oftentimes for a lot of businesses, IT will take it over. It's one of those admin areas that you can determine people can do it, a subset of people can do it. For lots of businesses, it makes sense that they restrict it. Our recommendation would be, if you've got your data center of excellence, those people need to be able to do it. No one else. Okay, it's fundamentally no one else. Not even your IT function really needs to do it, because what you want to be doing is saying they are the gatekeepers for what's going on. They will create the functional workspaces that are needed for the data engineering side, that potentially IT are going to interact with much more often or much more frequently. They will create the model workspaces, and they will create the visualization layers that you're going to have. Remember, of course, as well, that the idea of your data center of excellence is not to create a whole new function and hire a whole load of people. It's about bringing together those brains across your organization. So for all we're saying, IT don't need access, there should be some IT involvement within your data center of excellence. Yeah? Okay. So what you do is you come through here, right? And we're going to call this Parkruns visualizations. And I could be whatever. I could upload an image if I had one. Unfortunately, I don't have one at the moment. I really couldn't find that Parkrun one that I've got. I will find it again. The big thing I will say, okay, obviously put a description in is useful, but again, descriptions on workspaces, they are useful, but they're not very easily visible. But let's see. So semantic models, okay, public is the key word there. So these are the ones where we're going to publish them, share them globally. That's what I'm saying in here. Under advanced, and this is where a lot of people go. Okay, so for this, we're going to go premium per user, which, because of what we're doing with our data flows, pushes everything through to be premium, because our data flows are feeding from other data flows, in particular that people one that's drawing the information from the other two to then collate it into something useful. So then it allows our model to effectively just drop the columns it doesn't need, very quickly and easily pull it through and ingest. So we're going to go premium per user. Depending on what you've got, you can see you've got different options here. Let me get rid of my face because I'm covering it. Okay, here we go. So Pro is obviously the default Pro. Microsoft is trying at the moment to get you into trials. We use Trial Fabric. We're not going to do Fabric content really until the trial stops. I think that's this is now ready. And we've got premium per user. Obviously, if you've got premium capacity, it's the legacy, which is now being moved through into Fabric capacity. And then you've got embedded as well, potentially is there. What storage format do you want to use? Small will be fine for us. This is more for your semantic model side. You can use large. There are some nice things you can do with large, but it's not something that you're going to need to necessarily worry about. If you are having problems and your data set is very large, then obviously large. If it's just an absolutely bog standard one, probably small will be fine. In terms of practicalities, I say under 500 megabytes, it's fine for small. But again, there's no hard and fast rules for this. So I would say test what you want to do. Okay, so you can deploy template apps. From there, as I say, all these other things we can do. So we're going to do that. And I'm just going to hit apply. That's all we need. Okay. At that point, it'll create a Power BI workspace for you. The next step, and this is the bit that is really important, is to start to manage access to these. Okay, so at the moment, we can see we've just got me. If you want to add people, you click add groups, add people or groups, and you've got the rights here for it. Okay, now these rights are a big part of the issues that people have with Power BI and the way it works. So in essence, if somebody is a member of a group, they will be able to access everything within the workspace. Okay. If you want people to view it as from an app perspective, don't give them access here. Okay. You create an app, which gives them a very much read-only view, and they have the similar rights to viewer. There's some subtle differences to it. But you need to think through what you're doing. So viewer and contributor are kind of, I'm not sure why they're there, if I'm 100% honest, because that's what you should be doing. Member is worth it. Contributor, as I say, is, yeah, I'm role-based authority or role-based access. So your RBAC model will be respected by viewer. It is not respected by member. Okay, so if you've given people RBAC access, they're members to the workspace, and then they go in the app, RBAC doesn't work. Okay, really interesting. Okay, but it's one of the things it doesn't work like that. So you need to think about what you're doing. So as I say, go through, work out what you're doing. For this, we're going to add an admin, and this is going to be our Jasmine Park Run group. Okay, so in this case, I'm using the SharePoint site as a group. So, which again makes perfect sense. You've got access to that. This is what it does. You might have your IT team might say, well, we want to use a group for that, and then you can use the group for that as well. You can use your Microsoft Teams for this as well. Teams are useful because obviously you're in the team, you get access to this. So use Teams. All those are possible to do. It's just work out what you want for it. Okay, so we go through, we do it. You can see in here, we could change that and say, actually, I'm going to make it a member. I'm going to do something else with it. We've now created our workspace for it. At that point, we then start to add in our content. So here we are, okay, our Northeast Parkruns dataset. What we're going to do next is we're going to add in some more things. We're going to talk about what's happening. So I've pieced together this. Okay, I've reviewed this. We've put this in as a new, with the new card visual kind of thing. So we've got kind of the latest. We've got this. We've got actually performance. We can see obviously for Great North Run Weekend there was a lot of extras in here. Okay, so we've got extra volunteers. We've got extra finishers. We've got extra all finishers. So people who crossed the line, people who actually scanned their barcodes who crossed the line, and then obviously our volunteers. We've got the average completion. So actually how many parkruns have these people done? So we can see, again, the difference between men and women, or women and men. We've got done the average finish time, and again, we've got the difference women and men, and then we've got the average age grade, and again, the difference women and men. Okay, so we've got kind of everything pieced together in here, right? And we've put that in such a way that it then works. So if I was to pick, say, Newcastle, everything will cross-highlight and filter down to Newcastle. Okay, I've reviewed tooltips for all these, so we've kind of got the tooltips going across here. Again, undisclosed is a difficult one. I'm trying to work out, do we want undisclosed in here? Do we not want it? It's not a huge number, but it is a number. And these are people who, for whatever reason, they have chosen to not disclose their gender, which is fine. There's no issue with it, but it does mean things like we can't get an age grade from them, things like that for it. Not a huge number, but as I say, it's there, and I've now labeled it as undisclosed as opposed to blank. Okay, it is something people have decided. It's a decision point, so I've left that there. Okay, we've then got here, we've got our volunteers. If we hover over the volunteers, it gives us, here's the breakdown of the volunteers. I've used a tree map for that. I quite like those because they're like a pie chart, but it's very proportional, and you can see the breakdown across Northumberland, Newcastle, North Tyneside. Okay, so we can kind of see it's a very useful way of dealing with it. And then obviously we've got our age grade performance, and we can see at a local authority level, event by event, what happens with it. So we get a lot of information out that way. So it's well worth it. I think we've got a good handle now on what we're going to do. And again, as I say, we've got it where even within our summary text, it's reflecting that it's as different local authorities have been selected. Okay. From there, you can obviously, we've got our standard icons in now as well, which is part of what we're going to discuss as next. So we can now click on that, and it will come through. And so, right, here we go. This is what's happening with it. We can pick an age grade for it. And again, this is where we've got undisclosed appearing at a point where I'm not really sure. and it looks odd because it's the way it's made up. So here we've got these are senior females, 34 to 30, which is multiple columns being concatenated together to give us this is what it breaks down as. Potentially we can look at undisclosed and making that read something more different. We've got the filters that are in now and working as well, so it's all kind of piecing together. So I've updated the filters. I've noticed that icon hasn't been updated. Oh, that's one. Okay. There's always one. So if we pick an area, to say we can go through to it, we can see then the next level down. That should zoom. Why is that not zoomed? Interesting. Have we not got a location for South Tyneside? I'll check South Tyneside as well. So we've now got everything coming together. But again, this is where little bits and pieces are important for us. So we can see now Gateshead, we can see the 2 events that go through, we can see the trending. We could pick to see, say, Windy Nook. And we could then choose to go and look at the history of Windy Nook. We can see how many finishes they've had. We can see all the information that's going on with it. Okay, so everything is there working for this. What we need to do is, as I say, when we next publish this up, is we will download just the data and then we'll separate the two, which allows us to separate them. And what I mean by that is if we come back to here and we go back to our Jasmine, New York, my goodness me, back to our Jasmine Dean. Under Visualize, we have Northeast Parklands. So if we go here and we choose to download it, we have to actually open it, don't we, to do that? So from here, I can go to File, download this file, and I can choose to copy the report with live connections. Okay, so that'll copy that down. So that then separates, and then I have a thin report version of the report content, and I have the production version, which is published. Now what I would then do is go in, reopen this, remove all the extra pages that I don't need, and I can then piece it together. See, I don't want to do it at the moment because this has all got all the links that are shared that everyone uses. So it's a bit, we'll probably leave this here at some point, and which is why we've got a new workspace. We'll build it up, have a new link for it. So as promised, okay, we've updated the template. And there's a few things that we've done in here, and I thought it was important to have a look and see, because we've updated as well the semantic model to have a better template. So we've got this instruction sheet at the front, okay, and you can download the Vertipack file. Now, Vertipack files, I'd say, is very important. So we've just created a link, you can click it, download it, okay? There's nothing fancy about it. We've got buttons here, so you can be able to copy and paste those to different pages in here. This is a template, remember, so it's going to be doing that. And we've got some instructions telling you things like duplicate the page you want to create. So say it's page 3, duplicate page 3, put your content on there, leave that hidden. Okay? You can choose to hide the instructions page, delete the instructions page, whatever you want to do. It's obviously visible by default because it's needed. And then we've got here, the next page. This is the data dictionary. Now this is one which is really important, I think. This is actually what is in the file. So we've got all the measures that are here. And again, you can see descriptions are missing, which is where really useful to put descriptions in for everything. Got some that have them. But this allows you to pick and choose. So we've got the table view. Oh, what's going on with that? Here we go. Table view. All the tables that are here, the columns. So all the columns that are there. Why is that? Oh, it shouldn't be visible, should it? And the relationships. Okay, so everything is pieced together there. And that's all built using schema measures. Right? Now this is something that it's been talked about a lot and it's come through and it's very useful. Okay, and I've pieced these together. I'll put the scripts down below for them. Okay, but all we're doing is we're saying, let's go and use this info.view.columns, info.view.tables, measures, relationships, and then we're selecting some columns from there to piece them together, and I've got some names on them. Just noticed a spelling mistake. I hate doing these things. I will fix that spelling mistake. Aggregation is not spelled that way. And by putting those in every model that you build, that can be really useful. And then in the template file, what it means is we've got a view. So what I've built is I've built kind of a filter view. Okay, so we've got a filter page where you can then say, well, and go back, and that just goes back to the previous page. The idea being that rather than having to learn how to put together filter panels like we've got in the main report, people can just download the template, use that, put a filter link in and link it to this page, which if we go back to the instructions, you can see the filter button here. And if we have a look at the actions for it, you can see it's going to a page, filter page. So it's taking you to that page that's hidden there. And then the back button will take you back to page before. So if we go here, takes us to here, and we go back, takes us back to here. So you can piece together and have that structure work within your report page as you've gone through. We could change, but different things on that filter page. It's up to you. As I say, I went with the ones we tend to use the most. Okay. The data dictionary, as I say, it's this INFO.VIEW.MEASURES that are there, but that then embeds within that actually what is the state of the schema today. Okay. But this is then why it's really important we have the vertipack, because the vertipack is what was agreed at a point of reference. Okay. So when we've published a major update, we'll have vertipack. Potentially the vertipack and the schema will vary over time, and at some point you should normalize and come back to the two being the same because you've done a major update. Again, it depends for you and your organization, how are you going to structure those? But I thought by putting everything together, we've got a date in there, a prepared date, we could put in a version number, but potentially for us in our business, we might say, well, we're going to update a report template every month or every quarter going through, depending on what changes we need to make. They might be relatively simple. It might be as far as saying, well, we've added some more pages to it. So if I've published stuff before, I don't necessarily need to change it. But what will happen for me is I would find I can go through and look at the tables. See, I'm sure I just hid those. It's a bookmark, isn't it? Yes. Okay, it's the bookmark. We get that now. So I'll fiddle fix those bookmarks for it. But you go through and you build all that. So all somebody is ever going to have to do is download this file and they'll build stuff. You've got the data dictionary there. It's already embedded within it as a table view. You could do different things, as I say. If they want to leave it in, they can. And we've even got in the instructions, if you want to leave the data dictionary in, you can. If you want to delete it, you can. We'd probably say hide rather than delete. Schema, vertipack can also be downloaded, blah, blah, blah. Tabs can be hidden depending on your requirements, instructions, or data dictionary. Of course you'd hide the instructions. You wouldn't want to publish this with the instructions there. But the goal is very clear. This is about putting everything in the hands of the citizen developer. So they're not having to worry about color schemes, not having to worry about how to build complex apps. It's there. Much of the automation is built in already. So what do you think? Okay, there's a lot that we're doing with this in terms of the progress that's gone through. We've set up this new area, haven't we, with 3 workspaces now to replace what was just one because it was just a simple little data set we were doing. We're going to have the visualization layer very separate from the model and from the data engineering layer. And again, it's because the visualization layer potentially is bringing together stuff from lots of different data sets. So in the past, we did a New York one, where we looked at the 3 New York data sets that we've built. So we've got kind of the bike hire, New York water towers, and taxis. And kind of the taxis, we're not refreshing it. I'm done with taxis. The main reason for it, I'm just done. But pulling that together, each is a very different one, different data set. But then we thought, well, look, the point is, if I was New York Council, New York Mayor, I'd want to understand what's going on with these 3 areas. So pull those together into my app that's going to have everything together. And that's the point, isn't it? That you get to that app strategy that brings together all your content and it changes everything that your business does. As opposed to saying, well, we've got lots of disparate apps around. You want that unified view. And that's really, I think, where the more thing keeps coming through. I'm seeing it again from, I think Marco's just reiterated it. And it's a quote from a long, long time ago as well. It was one, I'm sure it's from somebody from Google who said it. But big data isn't about big data. It's about maximizing the value that you get out of your current data is the thing. It's not about getting more, it's about using what you've got. And that's really what this Northeast data set is really showing. We've gone from something which was quite a very simple spreadsheet, and then by piecing those together, it makes it almost fractal in nature. It becomes a very complex, complicated product that allows you to see and has some very subtle nuances. If we were to say, well, what are we doing today? Am I saying, well, how can I encourage my local authority more? I might use this, say, well, but that local authority is doing better than we are with it. Or is it a case of saying, well, we actually want to look at the public health and see the impact across the whole region? Is it something else? You know, are we missing something? Is it about saying, well, what am I doing? Which events have I done? How good am I as a volunteer? How good am I as a runner? There's lots of subtleties, lots of nuance that people are going to want and that people are going to use this data set for. And this report has to be able to cope with it. As a public one, there are some things you can't do. So we can't do all the bits that we do with an app where we'd have dashboards and actual menu systems around it. And that's the issue. These public reports, they're kind of one size fits all. Everything has to fit into it. So it has to be quite a holistic experience. It's a nice one to go through. We have updated the template as well. So the template is now standardized to go in, and that was something we had a look at, isn't it? So let's have a look. You know, it all helps to then standardize that experience and drive further things further forward within your organization, don't they? Yeah. So say, let me know down below what you think. You know, get involved. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us what, you know, do you do parkrun? Do you think this is terrible? Is it stupid? Have I just gone way too far? Anything, let us know down below. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.